Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of In Case You Missed It, episode 36 for those who are keeping count, and you might have missed us last week because we decided to just not have the show last week because there was like no film news. So you're going to get all the trailers and all the news that there was this week, which we are once again joined by Miles.
Hello, I'm back. Well done.
He's back. Tommy's watching the football, which is why he won't
Lazy.
be there, and there's other reasons. But just because of our schedule and my work and his work, meant that we just couldn't work it out this week, as well as other factors. But yeah, so we've got Miles again.
Lucky you.
Lucky you. Let's jump into the trailers as we always do. A few more, just so as we catch up. I said a few more. There's only 5. The first one that we got, again, it feels like a while ago now, but we got the first full trailer for Onward. They showed quite a chunk of this at D23, but they didn't release that to us, so this is us getting our first look at it. Pixar's next film with voices of Tom Holland and Chris Pratt. I feel like this was a little bit of you, Miles. I felt like you really enjoyed this.
Was it Onward, right? Yeah. I when the trailer started, I was just like, I'm increasingly just not the audience for these kind of films. But the more it went on, I really enjoyed it. I think there was a lot of cool visual humor, and it's an interesting concept.
Yeah, it's really interesting, and I think as it starts, you kind of go and you see, they get to bring the dad back to life, and you can see that there's going to be quite a lot of heart and emotion around that sort of moment, and then obviously to go down the comedy sort of route of it kind of makes sense. And I think a lot of what people have been saying is that it's like a children's sort of version of Bright. Did you watch that? The Netflix one.
Is it like what is it? Is it? I know the concept of Bright.
It's the similar. It's that sort of world sort of thing. That's the way you got all these fantasy creatures and orcs and goblins and elves and whatever and unicorns. It's that similar sort of thing in a real.
I don't know if the parallel works that well, because the whole point. I mean, there's been lots of kind of like modern day retellings of like mythical creatures in sort of like a realistic setting. I mean, you can argue anything up to something like Zootopia has a similar concept. I think that with Bright, it was about 2 key races, and it was more about an allegory for modern day race. I know the concept, it's fine. But yeah, that was more about race. It was just using a kind of fantasy lens for that. But no, I do think this looks really fun. I'll be interested to see it, and I do want to see it. I think I'm all for good children's content that doesn't talk down to anyone.
Yeah, and I'm all for more Pixar doing something that's not a sequel, which we haven't got for a while. I mean, this year we got Toy Story 3. Or Toy Story 4 even, and obviously Incredibles 2 before that. Incredibles 2 was a little bit more earned than Toy Story 4 was. I like to see what they can do and where they're going to go with this, and I have no doubt that this will probably get a sequel as well. But
yeah, almost certainly. Next time it's just the top half.
Maybe. But you've got that wizard sort of side of it, and I think that's probably where they'd go in a sequel. But we'll wait and see how this film turns out. When you've got people like Tom Holland and Chris Pratt on board, they're obviously big names. It's gonna make a lot of money.
Yeah,
I
forgot it was him. I wasn't listening out for his voice, Tom Holland. Chris Pratt is obviously just instantly recognised that, but Tom Holland, I don't know. I just didn't hear it, and I'm normally quite good at picking out voice actors.
I thought they both did actually a good job of doing something different, because obviously Chris Pratt, when you think of like an animated film, you think of the Lego Movie, and it's a completely different sort of voice that he's doing in this film, which is why there'll be a separation. I think so. I think there's enough of a difference there.
I'll need to listen back. I just instantly just heard, it's Chris Pratt.
But again, that's just because we've obviously both watched Parks and Rec and Guardians of the Galaxy and heard so much of him that you can instantly tell. Whereas Tom Holland, you've just seen in a couple of Spider-Man films and MCU films, and that's about it.
Yeah, pretty much. Although he will be appearing in one of the later films that we're going to be talking about today.
Oh,
what could that be?
What a tease.
Segue.
But this is a big yes for me for this trailer, and I'm really excited to see this one.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I definitely want to see this.
Another Disney trailer next with the first trailer for Jungle Cruise, Disney's latest attempt to keep making films off theme park rides from Disneyland. This one starring The Rock and Emily Blunt. What did you think of this one?
I saw the title for it, having been on the ride, and I just let out a big sigh. I think the film had more to offer than I expected, but I still think it's just going to be like yep, that was fine. Didn't need to be made. Had a few good laughs, a few good action set pieces. Wouldn't see it again. I don't think it's going to be like particularly groundbreaking, but it's got The Rock in it. It's got Emily Blunt, both good actors, so it should be watchable at the very least.
Yeah, I think I'm excited about this one just because it's an adventure sort of film, and I don't think we get enough of those these days. And I got a little bit of a sort of the National Treasure sort of vibe to it.
Do you reckon? I don't know. I really like National Treasure, and I feel like that's doing National Treasure a disservice. I got more of a modern Dora the Explorer vibe off it.
But did you watch Dora?
No, and I don't care to see this.
It was actually pretty good.
Like I say, I think this is fine. I would watch both of them, given that I have an unlimited card to see any film. But equally, I don't think I'll ever see it again. I don't think most people will watch it more than once.
I don't know. It really does. I'll wait and see what the next trailer's like for this, because when we get a little bit more story about it, and I think that's really what's gonna sway people as to whether they're interested in this film or not.
It could go 180. Like I thought Jumanji, I think originally was going to be a bit like that, and it came out to be like a lot of people's favorite film of that genre.
Yeah, and it did really, really well with the box office. So
I really enjoyed it. I would watch that again, and I could very easily see this film doing a 180 into that kind of territory.
Yeah, I completely agree. Do you think that The Rock should stop doing films in jungles?
I just think that he'll do anything. He's just so likable that he can just do whatever crap he wants, and everyone would just be like, it's fine, it's The Rock. And he's making a lot of money off it, so fair play to him. He seems to be having fun as well, so why not? Can't fault him.
Yeah, I'm gonna give this trailer a yes from me. I think I'm still excited to see what more they've got to offer, but I get your hesitation towards it.
If it has to be yes or no, I'd say yes, because I am going to see it. I just don't. I haven't got high expectations, which, to be fair, is quite a good position for any film to be in. If I'm going to see it anyway and going in with low expectations, you can only go up from there.
Speaking of low expectations, the next trailer we got was for Dolittle. A film that has a lot of problems from behind the scenes. I know there was like a massive Reddit thread that was by someone who worked on the film, like going over loads of on-set problems that they had with the director.
Well, James, speaking of people who worked on the film, I worked on this film.
You did. I was going to get there.
I don't know much about it. I only did a few days on set, and it was like the B unit. I was in the locations team, and I've got a strong suspicion that they might not use any of the footage that we shot. This was a year and a half ago. I don't know. I might be stretching that. I think it was about that though. It was a shambles. They had a horse stack mid-run, because our scene mainly involved a load of horses running around a street up north, and one of the horses just completely decked it and did like a barrel roll with the rider on it. Oof. So I don't know if they got any usable footage, but I hope they did, because they ran past the house that I was sitting in as part of the locations team, so I want to point to that house and say I was inside. But yeah, I know some people who worked on the film long after I finished, and they were working in like the production office and things, and they just said it was a complete shambles, like every reshoots every which way. Not great.
It was supposed to come out this year in May, and then it got pushed back because of reshoots to December, which is obviously a crowded month, and apparently because they didn't want to compete with Star Wars and Jumanji, they've pushed it back to what will be January, February next year.
I think it was pushed back to I think it went did you say May was when it started? And then I think it was like September, October, because I had it in my calendar, because I wanted to obviously go see the film I worked on, and then I think it got pushed back again to late December. I think the December market wouldn't have been bad for it, the type of film it is.
I think it would have got buried though, especially
Yeah.
if with all the not just the competition, but when there's bad word of mouth about production, that's going to go around, and when
I
you've
don't
got
know
such
though.
a
I don't
choice,
think most people were aware of this film until the
I
trailer
don't
came
think
out.
general audiences were aware of it, but I think they would be more inclined to see a Jumanji or Star Wars.
Definitely. I think if they're gonna like if they're the kind of people who just see a film every now and again, there's definitely much better films to see. We hope around that time.
But just like looking specifically at the trailer, I kind of like the era that it's going to be set in. I don't know what
I
exactly
didn't know.
era.
I didn't know until this film came out, and obviously knowing a little bit more about it, having worked on it,
Yeah.
that Doctor Dolittle is based on a load of books that were set in Victorian times. And the Doctor Dolittle films with Eddie Murphy that we remember were just a modern day retelling of it, whereas this is really going back to the roots, I guess. Not knowing much about the book, but at least going back to the time era and the theme.
Yeah.
I
like
think it's
that
cool.
sort of. I think, it obviously separates itself more from the Eddie Murphy ones and will be less of a comparison, which will particularly probably do the film a favor if it's getting bad word of mouth. I like its IMDb page, its summary, its synopsis literally just says a physician discovers that he can talk to animals. That's it.
All right, great. Well, you'll be pleased to know that one of the animals was Selena Gomez.
That's true. It's got a really great cast, actually. Robert Downey Jr., obviously.
This is
Tom
Holland. Yep. I believe he's playing the assistant of Dr. Dolittle at some point. That's what I was told at the time.
Well, not as I think it's an animal. I don't think it's
Oh, is he? I was told at the time he played the assistant to Dr. Dolittle. That's what I was told on set.
Well, maybe that's part of the reshoots.
We were only B unit, so we didn't see him, but that's what I was told.
Yeah. Other members of the cast are Rami Malek, Emma Thompson, Ray Fiennes, Marion Cotillard, Kamal Nanjiani, Antonio Banderas, John Cena, Octavia Spencer. So it's got a great cast.
Great cast for sure.
But obviously, all of those will pretty much be voices.
Yeah.
And obviously Robert Downey Jr. being the main lead, and that will be the main draw for audiences after seeing what will be his first film since he died in Endgame. Spoiler alert.
Spoilers.
I mean, if you haven't watched it by now.
It's too late.
It's difficult to compare it without thinking about all the troubles, but looking just at the trailer, even then I'm kind of going to give it a no, just because it looks a bit generic-y, and I don't know, it seemed like they were hiding something. Maybe it's just because all the voice work and animation isn't fully done yet.
They didn't show a lot, and I saw some pretty dodgy CGI on. I think there was a character that jumped that he did a swing off something and then jumped, and that was a very ragdolly CGI that I saw. I don't know. I'm not going to rush out to see this. It's a bit different for me because as I said, I've got an unlimited card, so I'm likely to see everything. B, I worked on the film, so it's going to be a yes from that point of view. But if I'm just being completely, what's the word? If I'm just non-biased, I guess. Yeah, I would say no. It doesn't look great. It looks again like the kind of film that even if you do see it, you're only going to watch it once. It's not going to make a big impact on you.
No, I don't think so. I don't think we're going to get another Doctor Dolittle 2 from this.
I don't know. I can never guess those things these days.
No, I don't think so. The next trailer we got was for Bombshell. This one comes out, I think, in a couple of weeks, actually. Maybe not for us, but in America, because they'll be going for that Oscar-y sort of push with this film. Starring Margot Robbie, Nicole Kidman, and Charlize Theron. Now, I know we both don't know too much about the story, because obviously this is based on real-life events of Roger Ailes and everything that went on.
Yeah, I got that sense. I didn't know anything about it before this, but yeah, I got that vibe.
So I know a little bit about it from listening to Collide Live. There was also a TV show based on these events as well, starring Russell Crowe, I believe. And a load of other really good people. So I'm just gonna go down the IMDb's trivia page to see if there's anything on there that I can pick apart. It's saying that Margot Robbie's character is completely fictional. and didn't exist.
Yeah, she seemed like a kind of like amalgamation of like a few different women that were targeted.
That's literally what they're saying. It's a few people rolled into one character just for film purposes. So you might have thought they looked a little bit funny in that it didn't exactly look like Charlize or Nicole Kidman particularly, and there's all prosthetics done on them to make them look like the real life people they're playing. I think that's quite cool instead of doing what Hollywood's now default is to CGI them, or what they could have done is like deep fake it and put the real life woman's face on top of
Yeah, that's
Charlize
very
Theron.
hard to do though. Like even the people who do it on YouTube, it's not hard to do. It's time consuming. The thing is though, like, why make it look like them? Like, what does that add? You know, with prosthetics or CGI.
I think because these women in this story are known, particularly to American audiences, were very familiar with these women, and I think that would just make it a little bit more real for them.
Okay.
If you get that sort of sense, I think it just adds that sort of realism.
I guess. Seems like quite a lot of work to go through for something like that.
Yeah, but I think if it pays off, then it pays off. I mean, the makeup, obviously, the prosthetics looks pretty great, and if this film does well, then perhaps some Oscar sort of, at least a nom, perhaps, for the makeup in this film, perhaps.
Yeah, maybe.
But what did you think about it, not knowing about the trailer, not knowing anything particularly about it? Does it grab you?
No, to be honest, like I'm hesitant because it seems like quite an important story, and obviously with like all the Weinstein stuff and countless others, it's quite a relevant issue to be addressing if it's going the direction I think it's going. But I just didn't care. Nothing about it grabbed me. Like even the stars just weren't enough to kind of sink their teeth in. I just didn't care.
I don't know. I'm in a different boat here. I think it looks really good. I didn't like the way that the trailer was made itself. I think using "Bad Guy" by Billie Eilish was a bit too on the nose, and a bit just the way it was edited just didn't work for me. But I think when you've got people like Charlize, Margot, and Nicole Kidman, who are all arguably at the top of their game at the moment, and some of the best actresses working, I think it could be a really strong Oscar award season contender. I'm actually really excited for it. I don't really know why.
I'm quite surprised at that. Like, because I just there's nothing about this that grabbed me. I think I'm gonna wait for you to see it and then tell me if I should.
Fair.
Like, even bearing in mind that I've got a free pass to go and see it, I just don't care.
I'm just gonna look up what the director's done just to see if he's done anything else. He did.
Yeah, I'd be interested to see that.
Director. So he did Trumbo. Oh, he's mostly done comedy stuff.
What's his name?
His name is Jay Roach. He did all of the Austin Powers films.
Okay.
He did Meet the Parents and Meet the Fockers, Dinner for Schmucks, The Campaign, and then he decided to do some serious stuff when he did Trumbo, and now this.
What a weird sort of sidestep.
Well, we've seen that with especially comedic directors recently, with Todd Phillips doing Joker, and obviously Adam McKay, who's doing really well off it with stuff like Vice and what was the one the other year? The Big Short, and obviously he did Anchorman before that and worked a lot on those sort of films. So it looks like directors are sort of going the way that I kind of spoke a couple of weeks ago about how actors can do, comedic actors do really great dramatic performances. It seems that the directors as well can go from doing comedy to drama as well, which is
cool. Why not? If it works, it works. I think I said before, like, I wouldn't judge any director of what they've done before. I think it's just interesting when they do make that move.
I think it's in a way it's similar to when you get say like a James Wan who goes and does loads of horror films and makes his name doing that, and then goes into something different. I think that's just a similar sort of thing.
Yeah, I think good storytellers are good storytellers. Obviously, they've all got their strengths, but I'm up to seeing anything really.
Yeah. The next trailer we got was for Peter Rabbit 2: The Runaway.
Speaking of people who worked on Peter Rabbit 1.
I didn't actually know this film was being made. I think I knew that it was rumored, but I didn't know it was actually going ahead. And then
I did.
Like,
I could have worked on this one.
But I didn't realize it was so soon. It was only last year that the first Peter Rabbit came out, and now we've got a sequel coming next year.
I worked on the first Peter Rabbit, which is what I was very subtly alluding to. When I was at uni, I worked on Peter Rabbit 1, and I was surprised. I was on there for just over a week, shooting up in the Lake District, and I was surprised that, given how short a time that was, of how much we shot there that made it into the film, which obviously suggests that other than the CGI component, it's not a hard film to shoot for.
No.
Obviously, it's quite a simple story, quite a simple setting, and most of the legwork is done in CGI. So I guess, with the exception of CGI, it would be quite a quick turnaround, especially if he already had a script in the bag from working on the first one. And also, I'm not sure, I could be wrong. I think some of the some minor components of the first film that didn't make it in have been used here. Like I remember we did like a couple of days shoot in a shop, and I think some of that might have been used for the shop scene that's in this.
Right.
And also some of the like background grassy areas that they've kind of animated characters over. It would be very easy to use some of the stuff we shot there.
That makes sense.
So I think it's just not, like, relatively speaking, not that labor intensive of a thing to do.
Yeah, my mind goes towards all the Alvin and the Chipmunks squeakles that we got.
I think even then though, like, that was a much bigger production. I don't know what the budget was like on each of them, but like Alvin and the Chipmunks at least had quite a big scope. Like even just the music alone had you have to basically mix and master and write a whole album and get everyone in to record that, and then you've got to make a cohesive story, and they use lots more locations than these films seem to be using.
Yeah, that's true.
But I don't know, like I say, I mean there's a lot to draw from the Peter Rabbit stories. I don't know how much they are drawing off the books, but yeah, I mean they can keep this going for a while.
Unfortunately
it is interesting because it's an American director doing it.
Oh yeah, that's true.
It's Will Gluck who also did EVA.
Yeah, I remember looking at the first one. I don't know. I remember thinking the first one was okay, but it's just for children, and this is just gonna be more of the same with that. And I'm worried when it's a quick turnaround about the script and how that's gonna be. That's my
having seen worry. The first one, I don't know. I having worked a little bit in the production and knowing roughly what direction it was taking, I was pleasantly surprised with the film, the first one. I didn't think it was like anything amazing, but I was impressed with it based on my expectations going into it, which were very low. Yeah. Especially speaking to some of the production staff and people on set, they didn't seem to have that much hope either. So yeah, I'll think I'll see it just to see where they went from the first one, and obviously from my point of view to see if they used any of the stuff we filmed.
I think I'm going to give it a no. My only no of the week. Again, just because I just don't know if I care enough. I think I don't even remember how the first one wrapped up. I think it did well as a one story. I get why they're making it a sequel. Again, if you're saying that they're using shots and it's, like he was explaining, it's quite an easy turnaround for them and quite a quick one. It makes sense, but I'm just not the audience for this film or not involved in production enough to care.
I could be wrong. I just got that impression.
Yeah.
What's the next bit?
That's all the trailers for this week. We have got a couple that are dropping Monday night / Tuesday. I saw we know that Star Wars is definitely coming tomorrow, so be sure to be subscribed to or like us on Facebook and Twitter and all that, and we'll post it on there, or follow Star Wars because they'll probably post it before we do. I mean, they will. Yep. That's a fact. There's also another one, Bloodshot, with Vin Diesel's doing the Bloodshot comic. I think there's a trailer for that drops tomorrow as well. It's a few big ones to look forward to. Let's jump into the headlines, which we start with The Matrix 4. Before we get into like the casting of it, did we speak about this before, The Matrix, when you've been on?
Matrix 4? I don't think so. I mean, I knew it was coming vaguely in the back of my mind, but I haven't really been paying attention to the production.
So, do you care about this film? Are you interested in The Matrix 4?
I'm interested off the back of my appreciation for Keanu Reeves these days. When I was younger, I watched all of them, and I couldn't care less really. I didn't particularly like them. I appreciate them now for all of the revolutionary things they did, and also just how iconic of a film that is, how much it's been used, how much even the technology that came from that film that was used in later films. There's a lot of really interesting stuff that came from that. But it just wasn't for me. Having said that, I haven't watched it since I was a kid, and I definitely wasn't the right audience for that then, so maybe I'd appreciate it more if I watched it again now.
I don't think I've ever watched the second or third one, or if I have, I just don't remember it. But I remember I watched the first one, or rewatched the first one a couple of years ago. I think, it's just so great. What a great film. I mean, I don't know if I care enough about the franchise to see a fourth one, but again, it's a similar sort of thing. I think that in that world there is another story to be told, but I don't know if I care about seeing the old come. I'm interested to see what they do with it more than anything. But we got some casting for this one, which is not due out for a couple of years, not till 2022.
All right.
But we got I'm gonna butcher this name. Yahya Abdul-Mateen II. He's the second.
Rolls off the tongue.
He played Black Manta in Aquaman.
Oh right, yeah, he was good.
He's going to be one of the leads in this film.
Okay. Do we know when it's set? Could it be a prequel and he's like Morpheus or something?
Well, I don't know. It's interesting because apparently there are two Matrix films in the works. There is a prequel that's in the work of Morpheus. So whether he is going to be in both of those, we don't know. It did sound like from what everyone was talking about, the young Morpheus, that sounds like who he's going to play. But maybe he's not. I don't know. It hasn't been confirmed who he's going to play, but I wouldn't be surprised. A young Morpheus film has been going around in the works for quite a while. I remember Michael B. Jordan was rumored to be attached to it at one point. Another bit of casting we got was that Neil Patrick Harris is going to be in the film.
Okay.
I'm interested to hear this one. I don't know how much you've seen of Neil Patrick Harris in anything other than How I Met Your Mother, and was it Dr. Horrible? Was that the one he did?
Dr. Horrible, Sing-Along Blog, How I Met Your Mother, and Series of Unfortunate Events.
Yeah.
Are the big ones, I think, for people. I also saw him as his cameos in the Harold and Kumar franchise. I don't know if you've watched them.
I haven't, but I know he's in them.
He cameoed as himself, but as a washed-up drug addict after Doogie Howser.
Yeah. So what do you think of him joining the Matrix universe?
I don't know. Everyone always raves about him as a really good actor, and he, don't get me wrong, he is. But I've only ever seen him in roles that have at least some comedic value, and even the ones where he's sort of semi-serious, which I guess applies to a Series of Unfortunate Events. He's very theatrical in his drama. Yeah. So I don't know. I can't see him acting properly serious. So I'm interested to see it. Like I said, I won't judge based on what he's done before. That's all I have to go on, but I would not be surprised if he completely nailed it.
Have you watched Gone Girl?
Oh yeah, he was in that.
He was in that.
I don't remember him doing that.
No, he's not in it for long.
Doing that much in it.
No, but that's the only real serious thing I can think of him doing. I suppose I could have a look, but I don't really care enough.
No.
A lot of people have been saying whether he'll perhaps be the Agent Smith of the film, perhaps. don't
I
know
can see that.
I can sort of see it, but I don't know if I'd want that. I think I'd rather see him be on the hero side of it.
Hugo Weaving's still knocking about. I'm sure he'd come out of retirement, put on a wig.
Maybe, I don't know. Hugo Weaving's a bit of a funny man. I don't know. I feel like he's very apprehensive about coming back. Maybe he will. I don't know. He does. He was in that Mortal Engines, so he's obviously willing to do rubbish.
That's one way of putting it.
Yeah. But yeah, we'll wait and see what other announcements we get with that. It's not till 2022. Obviously, it'll be very effects heavy, so that's probably why it'll get a few years off. So I'm surprised that we're getting announcements this early. But the next bit of news we got this week was Ryan Reynolds posted a picture of him at Marvel Studios headquarters in, well, I assume it's in New York. And he was obviously having a meeting there, and everyone naturally just assumes that was about Deadpool, which it probably was.
Yeah.
So the Rhett Reese and Paul Wernick, who co-wrote both of Deadpool's films, might have been there as well, but they've come out and were talking to EW and have come out and said that Marvel are willing and have promised them to let them keep Deadpool R-rated.
Good news.
Which is great news. I wouldn't have wanted to see a 12A PG-13 version of Deadpool. They kind of did that a little bit with the Christmas one, which I think worked as a gimmick.
I'm surprised they got away with it, to be honest.
It didn't make that much money, but I think the money that it did make went to charity, so that's why.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah. So I think that kind of worked. And I think what that shows Marvel is that they could put Deadpool into an Avengers film and have it be PG-13 and him still be okay. And he can even play off being in a PG-13 film. I don't think, or 12A film. I'm glad that they're keeping him R-rated. I don't think you could do the character without him saying that way. I wouldn't want to see them do a solo film.
No, I don't think anyone wants that. They fought for a long time to get an R-rated Deadpool film, so...
That's very true. Yeah, I'm interested to see now when this film will come out. Deadpool, if it will be a Deadpool 3, whether it will be a reset, whether it will be he's suddenly in the Marvel universe, and him playing off that.
I just can't see him working. I can't see him working in the main Marvel universe. Like, everything that you love about Deadpool would just take people out of any semblance of seriousness that they have in any given Avengers film. But
that's why he would be a main character in an Avengers film. He'd have to be at the level of Hawkeye or Black Widow in the first Avengers film.
I can't see it working. Like, imagine like if you go to like the most heartwarming, even like heartbreaking scenes within any Avengers film, and then having Deadpool anywhere within that universe, I think would just take me completely out of it, because he'd have to he'd have to either reference that he can't swear, he'd have to reference breaking the fourth wall, which means that any sort of darker stuff, any like emotional stuff wouldn't have the same weight to it anymore. I can't see it working.
I don't know. They're definitely going to give it a go. I'm really interested to see how they do it. It's going to be interesting just in general to see how they tie in the X-Men universe as it is. I think Deadpool's the easiest way to get around that. And obviously with how Deadpool 2 ends, spoiler for that, for some reason I care more about spoiling that than Endgame.
Yeah, it's basically better.
But he gets his time-traveling device fixed, and he jumps around in time at the end of that film. And whether that allows him to jump universes or not, that's probably the next step. I think that'll probably be the way. Another thing that people have said is that if Deadpool is going to be in the MCU, and we know that Tom Holland's contracted to one other film outside of Spider-Man in the MCU, could it mean that there'll be a Deadpool and Spider-Man crossover in the works?
Very possibly.
Possibly. As we move on to talk a little bit more about Spider-Man, Ruben Fleischer, I don't know how you pronounce his name. I think it's Fleischer.
Would be Fleisch. Well, it probably comes from Fleisch in German, meaning meat.
It does look quite German. He is not directing Venom 2, but he did direct Zombieland 2. So he's on the rounds at the moment, and people were asking him about Spider-Man, everything that kind of went on there, and Venom, and he basically alluded to that that's where the road is leading to a Venom and Spider-Man crossover. I don't know how far away this could be, whether there's part of the new Marvel and Sony deal that maybe Venom will be in the MCU. I'd be surprised if it was. But at the same time, I wouldn't be at all surprised because I know how much Marvel wants Spider-Man in their universe at the moment. So I don't know. What do you think of the potential of Tom Hardy and versus Tom Holland, battle with the Tom H's? Do you think?
I mean, I love Venom and I like Tom Hardy, and I think he's a very good casting for Eddie Brock. I just hope that the prospect of bringing Venom in line with a very popular character, let alone a popular MCU character, will make the creators of Venom up their game a little bit between now and then, and get Venom onto the same standard that they brought Tom Holland's Peter Parker up to.
Yeah.
And I just hope that between now and then Venom gets better, because Venom was fine. Once you accept it for what it is, I had a good time with it. But Venom's such a good character, and it's just a waste. And I just hope that he improves before we see him in anything resembling the MCU.
Well, yeah, we'll have at least one more Venom film before then. Before the next Spider-Man film anyway. And I'd be surprised if you get Spider-Man turning up in Venom 2. I think you'd have to do Venom turning up in a Spider-Man film now, rather than the other way around. Do you know who's directing the second one?
No? Do you?
It's Andy Serkis.
Oh. Second Venom, you mean?
Yeah.
Well, that's a very good sign.
So that means the CGI.
Did you do any of the mocap stuff in the first one?
No.
I feel like they might do a soft character redesign with Andy Serkis' film.
That makes sense. We just want that white
He's
spider.
He's really lanky. Yeah, to be honest, that is one thing. If that's all we get out of him joining forces with Spider-Man, if we get the iconic suit, I'll be happy.
I think it would. I think that's the sort of storyline. That's the natural progression of that story.
What if you had... Sorry, I just went on a tangent thinking. What if at the end of the Venom 2 film, we kind of get the... Obviously, it's from the comics, but the sort of Spider-Man 3 thing of Eddie Brock in this one is the one who wants to give up the suit. He discovers what it actually is, and he goes up to the bell tower, rings the bell, and gets rid of the suit temporarily. And then in a post-credit scene, or maybe even in that film, you see Peter Parker getting the suit, and you kind of do a reverse thing of the comics where it starts with Venom, then goes to Spider-Man, and then eventually returns back to Venom with the white spider symbol.
That makes sense. I think they'd do it that way. I like the idea of using the bell tower in that iconic scene.
I'm going to call that now. They're going to do reverse comics with the bell tower, and it's going to Venom to Spider-Man instead of the other way around.
What I'd like is that to be the post-credit scene of Tom Hardy going to the bell tower, doing it that way. You don't see Tom Holland or Peter Parker in that, but then at the end credit scene of Spider-Man's next film is that.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was trying to get at. Yeah, I think that would be cool.
I think that would be cool.
Because then
cracked it.
They could leave that open.
But
yeah, we've cracked it. Okay, we're locking that in now, guys. That's the prediction for the next one.
But there's also nothing to say that this will be Tom Holland as Peter Parker, or
I thought that was confirmed.
Not crossing over with Venom. They could do another. They could get someone else to be Peter Parker by then.
I feel like, would they though? Would they really want to do that to people who love Tom Holland?
It depends on when they want to cross it over. Because I don't know how...
They could do a Miles Morales.
They could do a Miles. I don't know if they would. I think
I feel like they definitely would. I feel like it would be very undeserved and it would probably be rubbish, but I think they would do it.
I don't know. I'm worried now. What are you doing, Sony?
Yeah, see, I put that in your head.
Oh, no.
Now you know. Now you know that it's inevitable and it's going to happen.
I'm not worried about them doing. I think Miles just works so much better with. I think Miles just fits more in the MCU than he would in this Venom universe.
Oh yeah, for sure he does. But do they? Who has the rights to Miles Morales?
Sony.
Is it still
Sony?
Sony? Okay.
I don't really know how it works. But we'll talk a little bit more about Kevin Feige, who has earned himself a promotion during the last week and has gone up from being just president of Marvel Studios. He is now chief creative officer for Marvel as a whole.
Surely that's what he was doing anyway.
Well, I think part of it was. I think part of this story is interesting because of all the stuff with him now doing a Star Wars film. And essentially what this title now gives him the power and looking at what his role will be, it means that he now controls all Marvel projects outside of the MCU as well, and has creative control over them, which obviously includes the TV, which is very much in charge of when you look at all this stuff that's going to be on Disney Plus. And it just further confirms that all the TV stuff isn't canon to the MCU if you didn't already know that. As much as I've heard good things about like the Runaways and stuff, and apparently Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. got better, but even that's cancelled now, which makes sense with Disney Plus. But another thing, there's sort of a tangent of this, is a story that came out during the week of the Ms. Marvel show that is in the works. And obviously, if you know her origin in the comics, it relates very much to the Inhumans. And it sounds like they're going to recast the Inhumans because that TV show was so well.
Is it the new Ms. Marvel, the Muslim one?
Yeah.
Is that right?
That's
I
what
can't
they're
remember
going
her
down.
name.
Neither can I now. I said it.
I haven't read that comic yet. I want to.
Yeah, I've heard really good things about it.
Yeah, it's been really highly reviewed. I watched a podcast that breaks it down.
And
it makes me want to read it.
And she is going to have a big role in the Avengers game that comes out next year, by the looks of it.
Oh yeah, I did see that.
That's going to really bother me that I can't remember her name. But what it does leave the door potentially open for is getting some of the Netflix characters into the MCU, like officially, even if that means getting some of those actors back. You could just say it's in a different universe. That's the whole thing of.
I was so surprised we didn't get like the Defenders, at least in the end fight, called in as like reinforcements.
I was sort of hoping for that, but I couldn't think of a way.
Howard the Duck made it in.
But Howard the Duck has crossed over with the characters and makes sense more, whereas Daredevil, Jessica Jones, Luke Cage, and all that, they've never crossed over with anyone in the MCU.
No, but it would have been a very good bit of fan service that no one would have minded.
No, the biggest surprise, them and like the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., because Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. seems to be the one that's most tied in with the MCU. So that was more of a surprise, and obviously Agent Carter as well. But everyone fell off Agent Carter after a bad second season.
I didn't even know it got a second season.
Yeah, the first season was really good. The second one just got a little bit too weird, and no one watched it anymore.
I heard good things.
Yeah, it's still decent. I guess it'll still be on Disney Plus when that comes out, or who knows what's going on.
Yeah, most likely. It's more content.
Yeah. The last bit of news that we got during the week. Well, at the start of the week, we got news that Jonah Hill had exited the Batman. Apparently, he was asking for $10 million to be in the film, which sounds like it's probably more than Robert Pattinson's getting. And when there's so many arguably better actors out there than him who could probably do a better job, as we get to who's playing the Riddler in a second, it's no surprise that he particularly left. And we got confirmation of who's going to be Catwoman. I know Tommy was championing Kristen Stewart to be Catwoman. It's not going to be her.
Oh, I could have seen that. Yeah.
I could have seen it, but I actually really like the casting that we've got of Zoe Kravitz.
Yeah, I'm happy with that.
I'm really happy with that. I'd like to see her in more stuff. I think she's great. I recently watched, what's the name of that TV show that I just watched with her in? I can't think of what it's called.
What's it about?
Big Little Lies. I got there.
Okay. No, I wouldn't have guessed
No, that show is really good. And she's solid in it, and she's just got that look. I really like everything that I've seen of her, so it kind of makes sense. And personality-wise, I think she fits the role of Catwoman really well.
Yeah, I don't know a lot about her. I can't think of what I've seen her in. I know I have, but from what I know about her, I'm very happy with the casting.
She was in the Divergent films. Maybe that's where you know her from.
Very possibly.
Or she was also in X-Men First Class and Mad Max, so that's probably where you know her from.
First Class, definitely. I can't remember enough about Mad Max.
She was just one of the
Brides?
Yeah, she was just one of those.
That makes sense.
The other bit of casting we got was that Paul Dano is going to be the Riddler, and I think everyone, as soon as they want, yes, that's great casting. After John Hill.
I don't know enough about him. I think I've only seen him in There Will Be Blood and Little Miss Sunshine, which I loved. From what I know about him, I think he'll do a really good job. Yeah. But I don't know enough about him to know for sure. But I've just got a hunch that he'll do a really good job, and I think it might even be like a proper career-defining, cosplay, inspiring kind of role.
So other stuff you mentioned, Little Miss Sunshine and There Will Be Blood. He was also in Swiss Army Man with farting Daniel Radcliffe.
Oh, yeah. I never saw that.
And 12 Years a Slave. I don't know if you watched that. He was
No, I need to.
But he was consistently great on all of those stuff, and I think that's a really great choice, and Matt Reeves continues to.
He seems like he picks his roles quite carefully.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And it's interesting that we're getting the Riddler, Catwoman. It sounds like we're going to get the Penguin as well. There's rumors that Seth Rogen is going to be. That's who they're after. I'd kind of be a bit surprised at that one. As much as I like Seth Rogen, when I think of like something like Steve Jobs that he was in, and he was great in that, I just can't. I think it would be that weird sort of thing where you just see Seth Rogen, and I don't want to see that. I want to continue down instead of going for someone who's a big name, continue with a Zoe Kravitz who's not an A-list actor, a Paul Dano who's not an A-list, and continue giving a decent role to someone who deserves it more.
Wasn't Josh Gad?
He was campaigning for it. I did see that he's just doesn't want it anymore, or something like that, or he's just not in the running for it.
I feel like a Josh Gad or and I've forgotten his name. Why have I forgotten his name? The guy you said at the beginning of this.
Seth Rogen.
Yeah, I don't know why his name just went blank on my head. I feel like if you go down any of those kind of roads, you'll end up with something akin to Danny DeVito's Penguin, which was great then, but just wouldn't fit what I suspect is this kind of film.
I don't know why, but I see this universe that he's creating as very much of an Arkham sort of universe, like the games.
Which I don't think anyone would be upset with.
So I kind of that's the sort of Penguin that I want. The mobster sort of version of it, rather than the toy penguins version of the character that, like you say.
Oh, I had a suggestion for this. Oh God, who was? I had. Let me get up his name. I think you'll agree with me.
Okay, I've got one in my head.
Okay, you go.
I've the Stanley Tucci. I don't know why, but I can see it working.
I mean, I like him, and I like him enough that I wouldn't be mad if that was right, but I had two ideas, both from Breaking Bad.
Okay.
Dean Norris, who was the brother-in-law, and Jonathan Banks.
Jonathan Banks.
You'll know him, and I can't think they're both from Breaking Bad.
What else is Jonathan? Was Jonathan Banks the one that was in Community as well?
He was in Community, yeah.
I like that.
He was the old guy that replaced Piers.
That's a good shout.
I think Dean Norris who's like I say, he's the brother-in-law in Breaking Bad. I think he would be a really good casting for a spot-on Arkham style.
Yeah,
Penguin.
I like that. I don't know if I'm gonna look up his IMDb just to see. I could see that though.
I've only seen him in a few things, but I could really
He
see
also
it.
looks like he'd be a good Kingpin.
Yeah, I could see that.
Not just because
I think
he's
both
bald.
of Jonathan Banks and Dean Norris could play either of those.
I don't know if the other guy could, but I don't know. I like Dean Norris. I'm sold on that. I'm championing him for the Penguin. Even in this picture that's on his IMDb, he's got the sun in his eye, so he's kind of got his right eye closed, and I could just see a monocle go.
I've got to see this now. Wait, is this Dean Norris? Yeah,
on his IMDb.
I've got to check this out. Yeah, that's not great.
But it's maybe he's championing for it. Maybe he wants the role, and he's like, just stick a monocle on.
Why is the eye that's in the shade more tightly shut than the one that's in this direct sunlight? Oh well.
The other person we know who has been brought on to the project as a whole is the composer. And I don't normally talk about composers apart from when the few great ones that we know, and this is one of the great ones. Michael Giacchino is, come on, there's so many different ways to pronounce his name, whether that's the right one or not.
That sounds right. I don't know what he's done though, but I recognize the name.
Which is, I can list off. So he did Star Trek, he did War for the Planet, the 2009 Star Trek. He did War for the Planet of the Apes, which is the tie with Matt Reeves, so that makes sense. He composed music for Ratatouille and Inside Out as well. I'm just seeing what he won. He won for Up.
It's got Brett then.
He did the music for Up.
Great score.
Lost, The Incredibles 2, Spider-Man. He did Jojo Rabbit, Rogue One. He did the music for, which I actually really like more than most people do. Jupiter Ascending. Star Trek Into Darkness.
We'll just ignore that.
Mission Impossible: Ghost Protocol, Cars 2. It's a mixed bag, but but that's as far as
like
film goes from. Yeah, that's definitely something that you can see consistently. It seems like he's done most of the Mission Impossible actually. The first Incredibles he did, which is a great score. Sky High.
I love Sky High. Don't you laugh at Sky
High. He did the Gargoyles game, Small Soldiers game. He did quite a lot of games actually. Looking at this, fair play to him.
Yeah, just seems like he's got a lot of range.
As I go to the top, 141 credits he's got. He's going to be doing the Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness score as well.
That must be a fun score.
Yeah, he did the first one, but the Multiverse of Madness is going to be on another level. He does quite a lot of Disney stuff. Looking at this, but he's such a talented guy. He's one of my favorite working composers. So I'm glad that he's going to be on the Batman, and interested to see what Batman theme he gives. Whether he just gives us the old animated theme that everyone wants.
Didn't I see there was something announced in the old universe? Because the Batman animated theme was taken from the Tim Burton ones. And there was something announced recently that was set in that universe.
What, with Michael Keaton?
I don't know if it was Michael Keaton, but it's definitely that universe. Because obviously there's a few Batmans back then.
The only thing that I can think of recently in that universe is that in the Crisis on Infinite Earths that they're doing in the CW shows, there's a
That's probably it.
There's a newspaper of it says Bruce Wayne marrying Selena Kyle or something, and it's a picture of Michael Keaton. So it's sort of canon in what I imagine is going to be the part of the crossover with Superman Returns. I think they'll just make that universe all together.
Oh, why not?
Well, why not? Those universes are dead now anyway, so you tie them in just for fun.
Yeah. Might as well.
That's it for the headlines this week. As I quickly go into box office before we round off the show. In 5th place was Downton Abbey. In 4th place was Abominable. 3rd place was Gemini Man, which had a bad weekend. In second place was The Addams Family, and Joker holding in at number 1. So the biggest thing about Gemini Man is that it looks like it's not going to make its money back. It's got its production budget listed on Box Office Mojo is 138 million in total worldwide. As of the time of their listing this, it says 75 million. So it's just over halfway of that. So it's not going to make its money back. What a shame.
Oh.
What a shame.
I enjoyed it.
I mean, there's better films. There's better ways to spend 138 million.
I won't argue.
Whereas
with that.
something like The Joker, which had a budget of 55 million, has now made over 600 million worldwide.
That's got to feel good for the director and producers.
So that's it for... Oh, no, what have we got coming up this week? We had Zombieland 2 and Maleficent 2 were the 2 big releases in America. We've got a few. I want people to check out Peanut Butter Falcon, because that's in UK cinemas at the moment.
I've booked that for tomorrow.
I'm going to try and see it on Tuesday before my shift at work. I'm really excited to see it. It's one of my most anticipated for the rest of the year, so I'm really glad that we get to see it.
I was so surprised that it was in a local cinema.
Exactly. That's what I was worried about, that it was just going to be in smaller ones. But the fact that we're actually getting it and I'm going to have the chance to see it, I'm really, really glad that I'm going to see it. I've only heard positive stuff about the film, and I'm really excited.
It looks great.
So that's it for this week's episode of In Case You Missed It. Before we do our usual wrap-up, we won't have an episode next week because, as Tommy announced the other week, myself and him and some of the Insider team will be at Comic-Con this time next week, filming some content around there. So we won't have an In Case You Missed It. Maybe we'll do an episode before then just to cover the Star Wars trailer and everything else that goes on. But don't expect an episode. If you do, it'll be a nice surprise for you. So it'll be the week after that you get another In Case You Missed It properly. But that being said, go and like us on Facebook, Insider Network.
Do it.
What did you say? Oh, do it. I didn't hear what you said.
Yeah, I said do it. I was giving you positive reinforcement.
It just sounded like you shouted something and I couldn't understand. Or maybe you coughed or something. I couldn't really tell.
It could have been anything.
But that's where a lot of people get their news from, the Insider Network page. So go and do that. Go and follow us on Twitter at Insider Network _. Follow us on Instagram at Insider Network. Miles, thank you for being on, as always. What?
Not a problem. Before we go, James, can I just share a fun bit of Dr. Dolittle on-set trivia? Basically, you know Selena Gomez is playing a giraffe, or I believe it was her. On set, that giraffe was a go-kart with a stick on it with a giraffe's head.
That is a fun fact. now I really hope they just set that go-kart to go like insanely fast, and in the film we're getting a giraffe sprinting at like 100 miles per hour.
Well, I believe the giraffe was being chased by horses, so it's going to go pretty fast. Or it might have been chasing behind the horses, I forget. But yeah, when you see Selena Gomez's character, just remember that it was a go-kart with a giraffe head and a stick.
Is there anything else you'd like to plug while you're here?
No, go and see Peanut Butter Falcon if you have the facility to do so. It's always good to get these smaller films that we often don't get in the UK seen, so that we can get some more unique content that we always complain that we don't have. It's always sequels and reboots. Let's get films like this off the ground.
And you can find Tommy if you want to ask him what his opinion on the Star Wars trailer will be in a couple of days. He'll love that, and I'm sure he'll have so many opinions about The Rise of Skywalker. You can find him at Mr. TT Green. You can find me at Floodgate28, and we won't see you next week unless you're at Comic-Con.
No, you better be.
Alright, see you later. Goodbye.
Goodbye.